Four miles. There we go. The dedication it takes to be a consistently successful hunter out west is no joke. If you want to kill a bull elk this September, especially with the bow, it's not going to be about what happens on that hunt that makes a difference. It's going to be what you're doing for the 11 months that are not September. We spend our entire year looking forward to one shot opportunity in the mountains, and it's up to us to make sure that our gear is perfectly dialed in, that our shot execution is flawless, that our fitness is as good as it possibly can get. The difference between you going home with regret and going home with a punch tag and a full cooler comes down to what we do in the off season. Welcome to a brand new series that we're starting here. So if you follow me on Instagram, you would have probably known that I wanted to call this series The Road to September, but small problem there. I thought it'd be kind of fun to give it a really corny name like The Climb. And yes, largely because of that one Miley Cyrus song. It's the climb. There is so much to get into when it comes to being ready for September. In this series, we're gonna be setting up arrows. We're gonna be tuning our bow setups. We're gonna be dialing in our fitness so that where the elk go, we can follow. We're gonna do everything possible to make sure that the deciding factor of our success is not a lack of our own effort. And check it out. If you've seen my last video, getting into target archery, I'm getting a little sick of blank bailing in the basement. So, let's go shoot around. It's a climb. Quick side note before we get going. I have been shooting the Easton match grade aluminum inserts for a little while because I was thinking that they might be able to get away from the stereotype of aluminum inserts. And I've even recommended them to a couple people, but I want you to look at this. Unfortunately, Easton match grade axis shaft, all spun perfect when I built the arrows. After shooting a good amount of foam, I think you can see it wobble there. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. I knew what I was doing, kind of pushing my limits with the aluminum. But if you're serious about archery, especially if you're serious about bow hunting, just avoid the aluminum. So obviously, there is a lot of things to take into account when you're preparing for a serious backcountry hunt. And I've learned, usually the hard way, a lot of lessons over the past couple years. And I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing to make sure I'm ready this year. So first things first, I know a couple of you already been making fun of me. Let's get this bow sighted in like I should have long ago. I'm gonna shoot this guy. I'm still not ready to commit to this arrow setup or the sight that I have on the bow, the black gold, just yet, but it is just silly when I come in here to try to shoot a round of Vegas. I have to use 27 yards on my sight tape. And then sometimes I crank it up to 26 because I'm not sure. And then I start missing. And let's just get things dialed in so I have no excuses. So currently, I'm just starting to ramp up my running mileage. This year, you may have already seen it on the calendar, but I've got a half marathon coming up quickly, and that's gonna be a baseline for me to pace my marathon. And my marathon's gonna be it'll either be a very big victory or a wake-up call for me. And both of those are before my ultra marathon. So this year, God willing, I will be running my ultra marathon this summer. And I can't think of anything better to prepare me for potentially a couple weeks in the backcountry. One of the biggest problems that people have is that they're not able to recover. They don't have the muscular endurance needed to recover and get back at hunting the next day. So I wanted to elaborate a little bit here. When it comes to fitness, especially when you're talking about Western hunting, where having a high degree of fitness is a massive advantage, it truly is a balancing act. And for most people, I'm gonna recommend that you focus on your weaknesses. So if you're a really strong guy, but your endurance and your cardio isn't very good, lean off of the strength side and maybe pull those Chevrolet legs out of the garage. Go on a couple runs. Even just start with walking and rucking, start there. And same thing, if you're like me when I came out of boot camp and you're a scrawny guy with really good cardio, you need to get into the gym, hit some barbell squats, do some bench press, some deadlift, and make sure that you're evening out your abilities so you're well-rounded in the mountains. And when it comes to your ability to recover, this is one of the things that kills more elk than anything else. I've seen so many times where I'm walking past people's camps, moving different locations, and they're there sleeping during prime hunting hours. Sleeping. And I think that just goes to speak to their ability to recover, right? If you have a really hard day of hunting, if you put 10 miles, 15 miles on your feet, you need to be able to do something similar the next day. And that comes down to your training volume. If you've already got your personal abilities evened out okay, your ability to recover is gonna be dictated by whatever workload is standard to your body. You see it all the time in running. People say only increase your weekly mileage by 10% a week. It's the same thing with any physical activity. If you work out 1 or 2 times a week, maybe even 3, over the course of the next few months, bump those numbers up. If you've ramped up properly and your body's used to hard efforts most days of the week, recovery is important, but your body's ability to recover is going to be so much better. Should have brought my binoculars. You dingus. I cannot see that. Important thing that I learned last year, at least as far as a comparison standpoint. Last year, I ran a marathon, the same marathon I'm running this year. I did a 4:05. I was hoping to go sub 4. That didn't quite happen. Such is life. I was hoping to run an ultra marathon, actually put on by the same people who are putting on the one that I was running this year. But a hip and knee injury kept me from running. I mean, I was able to run for a week or 2 after my marathon, and that was it. I was just scared I was gonna keep making it worse. All right, let's go check that out. Looks like we're just a hair high. Anyways, last year, even after running that marathon and then having to sit on the sidelines for a couple weeks before my hunt, I felt amazing. I mean, I had just about limitless stamina. And I was very much prescribed to the legs and lungs ideology when it comes to hunting fitness preparation. Okay, my plan is I'm going to shoot for score and see how I'm doing compared to my last tournament. So first tournament I shot was here on my birthday, a little over 2 weeks ago. And I shot a 437 out of 450. That's an average of 0.97 score. If we apply that to a 300 round, like a Vegas, 291 and change. If you want to be nice, let's call it 292. So 292 is the score to beat to set a record. I'm gonna really focus. I'm gonna put some music on and see if I could break this. The reality is, in the moment of truth, people are only gonna be 60, maybe 75%. Maybe 75% if you're really good. As good as you are in the backyard practicing in that moment of truth. So you need to make sure that your threshold of accuracy is so high. And that's why target archery is so good to induce a little bit of that stress.